Hey girl, hey, and welcome to the Self-Love Fix podcast, where we get relatable, we share tea, and we support each other on this journey of self-love, self-worth, personal development, self-esteem, and self-care. Because why wait until it's too late to start becoming the best version of ourselves? Let's start today. And I'm your host, Beatrice. So let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to the Self-Love Fix. I am your host, Beatrice. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. I hope that the rest of your day goes well. I'm already saying this before we finish the podcast, but I did want to start off the podcast by saying I am so excited because I am going to be talking about gratitude today. It's such an important topic. I think this is something that's overlooked. She's slept on. She is ignored. She's thought to be not that important. But today we're going to get into something. We're going to expand this idea and concept of gratitude, and it's going to change the way you look at it. I promise you, it's going to change the way you look at it. So the reason I want to talk about gratitude in our context, in the context of this podcast, is because gratitude helps to heal. It really does. And when we talk about learning to love ourselves, we talk about healing. I always say that learning to love yourself isn't just about looking up a bunch of memes or just looking at inspirational quotes. It's about application. It's about doing the work. It's work is really what it is. And gratitude is one of those things that can be really transformational for you in this journey. So I really do want to emphasize again that there is a difference between being grateful for things and living in a state of gratitude. And that's where we really start to see a shift in our lives, is when we live and breathe gratitude. One thing for me that gratitude really helped me with was depression. Before I talk about that, the root of depression is usually something we can't pinpoint. We just know that we feel some type of way and we don't always know why. But I guarantee you that when you start thinking of things that you truly from the bottom of your soul are grateful for, it is really hard for depression to occupy the same space. And the two seem really unrelated. I know they do. And I'm in no way diminishing depression, because we all know you can't think depression away. It's more of just, it's inner work. It's a lot of doing a lot of inner work. But the thing is, you'll notice a transformation in yourself when you start to think about the things that you are truly from the bottom of your soul grateful for on days that you're depressed or on days that you're not depressed. When you think about the things that you're grateful for, it is really hard for your mind to kind of put attention towards the depression or to stay in that state of depression, because now what you're doing is changing your perspective. So for example, when I used to be really codependent, and again, I almost forgot to mention, last week we talked about codependency. So if you want to hear more on that, tune into last week's episode. But when I was really codependent, and those of you who are codependent can relate to this, I would wake up every morning feeling depressed. It's just, I don't know, it didn't matter if I looked at something on the phone or I just saw something on the TV or something that just made me feel less than. I shouldn't say made me, because nothing ever makes you feel. I should say it kind of brought me to a place, or I found myself coming into a place of just, I felt less than, or I felt like I wasn't good enough, or all these things. And then I would just feel depressed all day, or just from the beginning of the day when I woke up. And that would be my compass for the rest of the day. I would wake up feeling depressed, and everything thereafter, nothing could pull me out of it, kind of a thing. That's what would happen when I was really codependent. And then at that time, or during the time I was healing from codependency and doing the work to heal, I learned about gratitude. And I remember it was some book I was reading. I don't even know what book it was, but it said something corny. What I thought at the time was super corny, like say 3 things that you're grateful for every day, or write down 3 things that you're grateful for. That's a tongue twister. 3 things that you're grateful for every day. I think, yes, that's what it said in the book. I don't know what book it was. I can't remember, but I do know that I remember thinking, this is corny. I'm not doing this. It's so corny. And then what happened was, I heard it on a podcast. I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk's podcast, Gary V. I heard it on that podcast. And then I heard it on a YouTube video that I was watching. Basically what I'm saying is I started hearing it everywhere, that people do this. This is a thing that people do. And I was like, oh, I guess it's not that corny. And I was like, what do I have to lose? I have nothing to lose but my chains. So I was like, I'm going to try it. So one day I just decided, okay, this is corny. I'm going to try and say the three things that I'm grateful for before I look at my phone, before I do anything every morning. That's what I'm going to do. And so, when you are not used to gratitude or living in a state of gratitude, you probably would say things like, oh, I'm grateful for, I don't know, like having a roof over my head, or just kind of the generic things we all know, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But what is interesting is that when you start making this a daily practice, when you start making this a lifestyle, you discover that you are grateful for so many things you never ever thought about. It just becomes, your brain just starts to look at life differently. It starts to look at life as being appreciative for everything. And like I was saying about how depression and gratitude can't occupy the same space, what happens is it's not that you are diminishing the fact that you are depressed. It's what happens is you are adopting a new mindset. In the state of depression, our mindset, and this is unconscious, it's not like we're aware that we're doing this, but our mindset is mainly everything is wrong, everything in my life sucks, nothing is going to get better. That's kind of, we can all agree with depression, that's kind of the unconscious mindset that we can't seem to get out of. But in a state of gratitude, when we're living in a state of gratitude, the mindset is life is abundant. Everything is beautiful. Everything is wonderful. It's like looking at things from a completely different perspective. It's a flip. It's incredible when you really think about it. And I'm going to illustrate more of that because I know this could be a little bit abstract, but what I mean is you can look at the same thing. Someone can look at one thing one way and another person can look at that same exact thing the other way. That can be the difference between gratitude and not having gratitude. And it can literally change your life. At least it changed mine. So back to what I was saying earlier, and before I illustrate the examples. So when I first started doing the gratitude thing, it was super uncomfortable. Like I said, I thought it was mad corny. I was like, I don't know what to be thankful for. I'm thankful for my TV. Like it was that kind of a thing. But then as I started doing it more and more, I kind of made myself do a 30-day challenge of doing it. I just couldn't stop. It became automatic, and I still to this day do it. It's like I can't stop it. It's automatic. And I started finding myself being grateful for the most abstract things. Like I would make coffee in the morning and I would think to myself, oh my God, I am so grateful that I have access to coffee. And with gratitude, a lot of us think that we have to think about what other people don't have in order for us to be grateful, right? So that's what I'm saying when I say the generic things. Like I'm grateful I have a roof over my head because someone else doesn't. Or I'm grateful that I have food because there are people that are hungry. There's nothing wrong with that. But I challenge you to think about gratitude or to be grateful without having to insert someone else into the narrative. That is what really is powerful. So like what I was saying about how I started noticing the little things, like I was grateful I had access to coffee, not because someone else doesn't have access to coffee, but just because I just simply was. I was like, this is incredible. I really have coffee in my house. That's insane. And for most people, they're just like, everybody has coffee in their house, or, that's a very common thing. But for me, I just had such a moment of gratitude after learning how to be grateful about everything. Every little thing just became something that was incredible to me. I'm grateful that the water in my shower is hot. I don't know. It's like things that I've always had all my life. It just started to be things I started to notice more and started to be more appreciative of. So I was talking about how I was going to illustrate some examples. And one example I can give where, someone can look at something as being something that they're so grateful for, whereas another person would be like, this is just, I'm not grateful for this, or this is just whatever, like it's a difference in perspective. It could be a car, something as simple as a car, right? I, the other day was just thinking, when I was like thinking of the three things I'm grateful for, I was like, I am so grateful I have a car that takes me to work. And it wasn't a thing of, other people don't have a car, or like I said before, it wasn't a thing of inserting someone else into the narrative. And it's not like I've never not had a car to go to work. It was just a moment of being humbled and thinking, wow, if I didn't have a car to take me to work, what would I do? Or if I didn't have a car to take me to work, then I'd have to figure out something else to do. And, I'm just so grateful that's not something I have to worry about. That was something I was thinking about the other day. And I don't have like, a fancy car or anything. It's just a regular schmegular Honda. And still, I was like, wow, I'm so grateful. So again, with the examples, one person can look at their car and just be upset that they have a Honda or like a Honda Accord or something, and just be like, this is, this car is subpar. It's not a Mercedes. I hate this thing. I'm tired of this thing. I don't want this thing. And another person can look at it like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I have it because it can take me where I want to go. It allows me to get to work where I can make money, all those kind of things. It's literally a difference in perspective. So when you shift and you make a shift in your life from being upset about something or feeling like you don't have enough of something to gratitude, changes your life. It changes your life. Gratitude helps us to heal because it helps us to stay present and it helps us to be humble and to work with what we have with joy. That is really why gratitude helps us heal, is because when you don't live in a state of gratitude, whether, and I talked about depression earlier, but it could just be that maybe you're just upset with everything. You're mad because maybe your apartment isn't the kind of apartment you want to have, or like I was saying earlier, the car isn't the kind of car you want to have, or your job isn't the kind of job you want to have. You can choose to have that perspective and be mad and angry and move through life like that, or you can move through life finding something within every situation that you are grateful for. It will change your life if you can find something that you are thankful for. In everything, there is something you can be thankful for. Even in the darkest, moments in your life or in the worst moments of your life, there is something you can have gratitude for. And I can give another example. Last year, like this time last year or a couple months ago, I think it was right before April or around April, I was living in Houston, and I'm from California, but I was living there because I went to school, or I finished school and then I stayed for work. But the work situation was just not working for me. And I came to a point where I had to make a decision. Do I stay here and try again to look for another job situation that will work for me? Or do I leave everything that I've built here? Because it was my first time having like my own apartment, like by myself, like living by myself. And I had furnished the place and it was a really nice apartment. And I kind of made a little life for myself there. And I was like, do I stay here and try to make it work when I know everything is pushing me out of this state and out of this city? Or do I leave and start over from scratch and lose everything? And honestly, it was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. But within less than a month, I sold everything I had and left. I left Houston to move back to California. And I wasn't coming back to live in my own apartment with my nice furniture and my nice, appliances. I was coming back to live with family and to start over. And I didn't know when I was going to be able to live on my own again and to, have kind of a life that I used to have before. But I knew that in everything, if I lived with gratitude, that I would be fine. And I'm not saying it's easy. When you're going through something rough, it's not easy. Again, like I said, I had to live with family and it wasn't the easiest thing. When you're grown, nobody wants to go back and live with their family. It can be a lot of point of contention, or there can be a lot of points of contention. And there was for a while, but every day I just said to myself, I am so grateful that, what, I even have my own room. I could have had to share a room with somebody for a little while I figured it out. I was like, I have my own room. I have, it's not like, again, it's not like I've never had access to a room or a shower or anything. These are all things I've had all my life, and I'm thankful for that too. But it was a new appreciation because I thought to myself, you know what? I could have had nowhere to turn with having to sell everything in Texas and move back to California. I could have just had a lot rougher of a start, but I had somewhere to stay for a little while until I figured it out. And I just remember waking up every morning feeling grateful, like, wow, I have food to eat. I have a room. I have, everything I need. So yeah, sure, I don't have my nice granite countertops and my stainless steel fridge and all the things I had before. But you know what I do have? I have a place to stay and food to eat. So I found myself in a place where I was feeling the same amount of gratitude I had when I had my own life and my own apartment and my own life, like lifestyle that I built for myself, and the furniture and the social life and all the things I had, as I did when I moved back to California. I had to start from ground zero, back living with my family, living in a place that wasn't just mine. I had the same amount of gratitude. So when you live in a state of gratitude, as opposed to just being grateful for things, you find that it doesn't matter if people take things away from you or people add things to your life, you will be at a constant. So that's what's another important thing about living in a state of gratitude. Besides just helping you get out of a state of depression and all these other things, it can help you stay at a constant, and it helps you stay present. That's how you heal, because you don't know what your life is going to look like tomorrow. You don't know what can go and what can stay. But if you remain grateful and can find something to be grateful for in any way, or in any situation that you're in, you're always going to be in good spirits. That's kind of, again, where that healing from depression too comes from, is gratitude puts you in such good spirits. I can't even explain. Gratitude really moves you from a place of pessimism to optimism. If you practice it long enough, you can be able to literally look at life from the bright side. You really can. So to give you some more examples, I'm going to talk about the 5 ways I've learned to incorporate gratitude in my life in order to help with my healing. So I've already told you one, which was to say the 3 things I'm grateful for every morning. I could just do it in my head or write it down. In the beginning, when I really wanted to make this kind of a lifestyle, I started writing it down. But these days, I usually just say it in my head every morning when I wake up. And then the second thing is that I tell people in my life why I'm grateful for them. I usually do this with my friends every now and again, just letting them know something that I'm grateful for. I know it sounds corny, but honestly, when you make gratitude a lifestyle, you find that you want to do this naturally. It's not just some cute thing that you've seen on Instagram. It's something that you really want to do. So that's something I do, is I tell my friends or tell other people why I'm grateful for them. So the third thing is that I give to others, and giving, it doesn't just have to be material things. It can be your time, it could be your resources, and it could be your attention. So I try to do more than just material things. In fact, I think material things is just one piece of the pie. I really do try to give like my time to my friends or to other people, to you guys. My resources, same thing. And then my attention. It's just, I make it a habit to show the gratitude that I have for everything I've learned, or all that I am, or all that I've become, to share that with others. Like I said, and it doesn't have to just be through material things. I try to do it with my presence. And then the fourth thing is I do what I like to call flip the perspective. And I kind of alluded to this earlier. It's where I try to look at things from another perspective. I flip it. So for example, I'm sure all of you guys have experienced this when you go to a restaurant or you're waiting in line to get food or something like that, and you just hear the people in front of you or behind you kind of tapping their foot and being like, this is taking too long, and they kind of look at you for affirmation or validation for them being upset that they have to wait so long for food. And whenever people do that to me, I usually just I don't stand in agreement, because I don't agree. I'm not going to get upset or mad. Sure, I want my food now. We all want our food when we want it. But what I do is I flip the perspective, and I think to myself, I am so grateful that I have access to be able to, buy food when I want, and that it's even there for me, to get. And so I'm not going to stand in agreement. Whenever people do that around me, I usually just kind of look at them and don't respond. I don't respond, or I'll find some way to just deviate from that, because life is really what you make it. If you want to sit here and be angry about everything is going to seem like a problem. But when you want to look at life like it's abundant and there's so many possibilities and there's things to be grateful for, you're going to do that with everything that you have, right? So continuing on with that example, like I said earlier, I just think to myself, like, I'm so grateful that I have access, that I'm able to get this food when I want. And I also think to the other possibilities that there are, maybe they're understaffed and they're doing the best that they can. And I'm grateful that they are working harder to make up for their missing, coworkers when they don't have to. Because 9 times out of 10, you've seen those people like Jamba Juice. Okay, I used to work at Jamba Juice, so I'm always talking about Jamba Juice. At Jamba Juice, sometimes there's those days where people call out, and it takes you've been there. It can take you 20 minutes to get your smoothie. And I've been on the other side. So, I don't even trip. I just be like, okay, well, I'm grateful that I know I'm going to get my, what is it that I used to get from Jamba Juice? Oh Lord, I can't even remember the PB banana smoothie or something. That was my favorite. The PB workout. I can't even remember it. It's so long, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to get it eventually. So I'm grateful that I even get to have access to something like this, period. And then 1. And then 2, I'm like, you know what? I can see they're working really hard. They don't have to. Nobody said you have to work harder to make up for the people that didn't show up, but they are. And that's how I try to flip the perspective. So I can, I'll see the people around me getting mad because they don't get their smoothie in record time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just grateful that they're trying the best that they can. And I know I'll get this smoothie when I can. So, and sometimes I'll tell the people around me too. I'll just be like, maybe they're understaffed. I'm just, they're doing the best that they can. I'm not even joking. I literally tell that to people sometimes in a nice way, of course. But yeah, flipping the perspective. That's number 4. And number 5, finding the lesson in whatever goes awry in my life. So this is a biggie. And I think this is something we all can relate to, is when maybe we've had a really bad breakup, or we didn't get that job we wanted to get, or we lost a job, or we lost a friend in terms of losing a friendship, something where things didn't go the way we want it to. I think it's important to grieve whatever it is and feel whatever you feel about it, but then remembering that there's a lesson in everything, and having gratitude for the time that you had with someone, or the experience that you had with something or someone, and then carrying that with you and being like, I'm so grateful. Like, I remember there was a time I had applied for a second per diem job at a hospital, and I'd gotten the offer and everything, and I was so excited to work there. But then they called me. I didn't confirm the offer. I told them, let me respond in a day, which I shouldn't have done, but it's okay. What happened was, the next day they told me, oh, you know what? Somebody who used to work for us and is familiar with the system actually confirmed that they can work. I'm sorry, we can no longer offer the position. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, because I really wanted to work at that hospital. But you know what? I told myself, I was like, I am so grateful that I went through that entire interview process and I was their top candidate, or their number 1 candidate. And they told me they had a lot of people they interviewed. And I was like, I am so grateful that I now know I'm really good at interviews, because I used to be really bad at them. And so you see what I mean? Even though I didn't get the job through my own doing, I found something to be grateful for. I found that, hey, I've honed in on my interviewing skills such that next time I'm probably going to get that per diem job if I ever need it or ever want it. So there is a blessing. I think it's India Irie, and there's our quote for the week. Hey, there's a blessing in every lesson. There really is. And gratitude can teach you that. So I really hope that this week that you were able to hone in on understanding gratitude, and that you will carry this with you, and that you'll find things in your life to be grateful for, and that you'll make it a lifestyle as opposed to something you just do on Thanksgiving or Christmas, that you'll make this a real lifestyle. So a great way to start again is by thinking about 3 things you're grateful for every day, no matter how big, no matter how small, and doing that daily. It'll change your life. Trust me. Yeah. So thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode.